Good evening. I'm Alan Joines, Mayor of Winston-Salem. It's my pleasure to call to order this May 6th meeting of the Winston-Salem City Council, and would ask the city clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson.
Present.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Mundy.
Present.
Councilmember Scipio.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Here.
And Councilmember Burke.
Here.
Thank you very much. Would you please join the city council and me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Would you join the city council and me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I want to recognize our Sergeant at Arms tonight, it's Lieutenant Jameson Keltner. Lieutenant, thank you for being with us tonight. And I'd like to call on our city manager for an update.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple of quick notes tonight. First, I know all of council was there, but I wanted to bring this back and let the public know that at our city vision, the city did receive a resolution from the North Carolina League of Municipalities as the host city, saying, whereas the delegates attending City Vision 2024 have enjoyed the hospitality extended by the City of Winston-Salem, and whereas the City of Winston-Salem, its elected leadership, and its city staff have long been active in assisting the North Carolina League of Municipalities in its advocacy and service efforts, and whereas President Harris, the Board of Directors, and staff of the North Carolina League of Municipalities are grateful for the fine cooperation and assistance of those who participated in the coordination and planning of this conference, now for there be it resolved by the North Carolina League of Municipalities at City Vision 2024, assembled this 25th day of April 2024, on behalf of the cities, towns, and villages, boards of directors, staff, and delegates, that they express sincere appreciation and gratitude to the City of Winston-Salem. And they have a long list of individuals that they recognize. But it was a wonderful event for the city, and so I wanted to bring this back to let everybody know that we did receive this and will and appreciate their efforts, and I know all of you enjoyed the time at the conference as well.
For the employees that volunteered.
Yes.
They made it happen.
I think we did such a good job, they'll be back in about 4 years.
And we're, Mayor Pro Tem, we're going to have a little something for our employees again here in just a moment on the agenda. Just a couple of other quick announcements. Historic Preservation Month is ongoing. So the Historic Resources Commission is observing Historic Preservation Month during May with tours of the Historic Union Station at no cost to the residents on Saturday, May 18th at 10 a.m. and Thursday, May 30th at 4 p.m. So reservations for the tours are getting a positive response and are filled. However, residents are invited to attend a local history trivia night today at 7:30 p.m. at 826 Angelo Brothers Avenue in Winston-Salem. There may be a waiting list if you want to go on that tour and weren't able to get on it. The Historic Resources Commission has also sought input from residents on a proposal to nominate to the National Register of Historic Places R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, Building 82 and 83 at 821 East 25th Street here in Winston. And comments were accepted when the commission considered the nomination during its meeting on Wednesday, May 1st. So I think that'll be coming back to council here shortly. As a couple of success stories that have happened, over 150 housing professionals from across the state, including those who represent nonprofit organizations, banks, government agencies, and community development groups, were here on Wednesday, April 18th in the Benton for the city's 18th annual Fair Housing Summit. During the program, Whole Man Ministries of North Carolina received the annual Fair Housing Breaking Barriers Award for its work in providing and assisting veterans with fair, equitable housing access in the community. And on last week, on the 20th, Saturday the 20th, the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds hosted the Piedmont Earth Day Fair. There were many city departments on hand to share the city's sustainability and environmental initiatives, and lots of other vendors as well, with nearly 9,000 residents making the fair the most successful one yet. And then on your agenda and the consent is an item on the resolution electing the 2024 inductees for the Winston-Salem Arts, Culture, and Entertainment Memorial Walk of Fame. And I'm going to ask our Marketing Communications Director, Veronique George, to give you just a quick presentation on that, because I think you want those folks to be recognized, and you won't have to pull it off consent.
All right, Ms. George.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. It's a pleasure to speak before you this evening. I'm happy to present where we are with our Walk of Fame nominations this evening. As you may know, we went through a formal process. The Walk of Fame memorial was created by City Council in 2015 and recognizes deceased city residents who made a significant contribution to the arts and entertainment industry in Winston-Salem. The process consists of nominations being opened in January of each year, and they're reviewed by a diverse panel of citizens representing various artistic disciplines in the area. The panel then makes recommendations considered by the Community Development Housing General Government Committee. And lastly, it's approved by the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and city council members. The criteria for the Walk of Fame nominations are that the candidates have to be deceased and no longer with us. They have to be residents of Winston-Salem for at least 5 years, have made significant contributions to the arts and entertainment industry in one or more of the following areas. That's music, dance, theater, writing, visual arts, motion pictures, television, or radio. They would have had to exhibit sustained excellence in his or her field for at least 5 years, and lastly, made distinguished contributions to the community and civic-oriented participation. This year, the 2024 nominees were Boo Frazier for music, Charles Green for music, motion pictures, Prince McCoy for music, Bonnie Poindexter for music, theater, writing, and Charles Vardell for music. And the committee is recommending 3 finalists, and they are Charles Green for music, motion pictures, Bonnie Poindexter for music, theater, writing, Charles Vardell for music. And we do have a brief background for all of the finalists this year. I'll just read the lead-in for each of them, but Charles Green is an accomplished songwriter and guitar player. He was a regular musician at worship services at Green Street United Methodist Church, and he was a member of the Versatiles. I'm sure that I would need to go back and correct that, but he's a member of a local band which represents the lineage of Winston-Salem's rhythm and blues legacy in the 1960s and 1970s. Next, Bonnie Poindexter was the executive director of Piedmont Opera from 2007 to 2009. She raised money to produce The Light in Piazza, the story of a tobacco family from Winston-Salem on stage. In 2015, she won the Beverly Sills Award at Piedmont Opera for outstanding service, and she is also a Lifetime Achievement Awardee from Winston-Salem Urban League. And lastly, we have Charles Vardell. Vardell taught piano, organ, and composition and orchestration at Salem College in 1923 and became Dean of the School of Music in 1928. Under his leadership, Salem College became a member of the National Association of Schools of Music, and his symphony was the first symphony of the North Carolinian to be performed by the Philadelphia Orchestra. Vardell won the Shirley Cup for music composed of North Carolinians. So thank you so much for the opportunity to present the finalists this year.
Yeah, thank you. We will vote on this tonight on a consent agenda, and we typically unveil the new winners, the first part of the National Black Theater Festival, International Black Theater Festival. Pat, go ahead.
That's all, unless there are questions or other, for me.
Any
or
questions,
other
Mr.
staff.
Pate? Good, thank you. Well, we do have 3 honorariums tonight, and I would ask the city clerk to read the first one, please.
H1, resolution declaring Historic Preservation Month in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Whereas the City of Winston-Salem joins cities and counties across the United States in the nationwide celebration of Historic Preservation Month. And whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for economic development, tourism, promotion, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas Historic Preservation Month is sponsored by the Forsyth County Historic Resources Commission. And whereas the Historic Resource Commission's mission is to protect and enrich the city and county's cultural, historical, architectural, and archaeological heritage through the identification, designation, and preservation of historic resources. And whereas the Historic Resource Commission strives to promote the use and conservation of historic properties for the education, pleasure, and enrichment of the residents of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. And whereas the Historic Resource Commission strives to educate the public about the history of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County's built environment, both extant and gone, and to amplify the voices and stories of persons and places traditionally excluded from the historic preservation narrative. And whereas the Commission encouraged members of the community to participate in creative and fun events related to historic preservation as a way to celebrate Preservation Month 2024. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Winston-Salem do hereby declare the month of May 2024 as Historic Preservation Month and call upon the people of Winston-Salem to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the City Council and that a copy be furnished to the Forsyth County Historic Resources Commission.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second. Motion and second by Councilmember McIntosh. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no. And I'd like to ask Mr. David Crass, who's a member of the Historic Resource. Thank you, Mr. Crass. And on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Winston-Salem, we thank you and the work of the Historic Resources Commission to keep our history in front of us and to make sure we preserve that we can and to recognize that we can't. So glad to present this to you. And if you'd like to make a comment, we'd love for you to.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, thank you for giving me a moment on your busy agenda tonight. 2023 marked the 75th anniversary of the Historic Resources Commission, and as the guy who had the privilege of running the Georgia State Historic Preservation Office for many years before my retirement, I can tell you that it is a very, very significant achievement and one that all of our policymakers should be proud of. I want to draw attention especially to the Commission's efforts to bring to the fore communities in this area who have not traditionally had a place at the historic preservation table. And you can read about some of those efforts undertaken with our partners locally in your annual report which is in front of you. Thank you again for your support of historic preservation.
H2.
Item H2, resolution recognizing Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest office among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing body, and agencies of other government levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings for their state, county, and professional organizations. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council of the city of Winston-Salem do hereby recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our city clerk, Jamie Waldeck, our deputy city clerk, Tanya Banner, and senior administrative assistant, Lindsay Mason, for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to our community.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, with great gratitude, I move approval of this item.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Second by Councilmember Mundy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I know there are no noes. It's unanimous. Thank you all. Jamie and Tanya and Mr. Mundy said we should have read that for you, Jamie.
First of all, we want to thank you all for everything that you do for us every day. I would like to think, and I know, and we do, that we couldn't do our jobs without you. We look to each and every one of you to help us figure out schedules and policy and minutes and anything else, questions that we call upon you to provide us. And with that being said, thank you and congratulations during your week.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll go back to reading really quick here. Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. It's been a joy to be in this position for the past year, and I hope I speak for our other ladies here that we enjoy working for you all and serving the community in this position. So you may have noticed we do have a fourth position open again. So we are sad about that, but she had a great opportunity she couldn't pass up. But thank you all so much, and I'll go back to my reading.
Thank you very much. Of reading, how about reading H3?
All right, H3, I'm going to make very short. Resolution acknowledging employee volunteers at the 2024 North Carolina League of Municipalities City Vision Conference. And we have a slideshow here of names.
These were all city employees who wore the orange shirts around and answered questions, gave directions, and in general helped out. And I know I was approached by so many visitors from outside the city that was said what a great job these individuals did. They were friendly, helpful, and it's made the stay even more pleasant. Jamie, you have an idea how many?
There were over 150 employees there for those 3 days. And the resolution does include all of our public safety employees that helped throughout the week, along with our volunteers.
Mayor.
Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem.
I can tell you again that everybody, they would come up to us, but the first thing they would talk about were the volunteers, the city employees, police, fire, everybody. And they said that your disposition was 5-star because all of you had smiles. They were genuine. You were enthusiastic. You were excited. And it made for them to have a very enjoyable conference, and we appreciate that.
Yes.
Mayor, while we're scrolling, I do want to give a shout out to the folks at the Benton as well.
Oh, yeah.
The spread they put on and just the hospitality that they offered was really top notch. The whole conference, I would see people look at my badge and see Winston-Salem, and they would just light up and want to tell me about what a great time they were having. It was exceptional.
Yes, I agree, Councilmember.
Don't forget about the party.
Good. Thank you very much. And we, certainly on behalf of the council, express our sincere appreciation to all the city employees who volunteered to make this, put our best foot forward there. So now we are returned to the main agenda, which is comprised of two parts, the general agenda and the consent agenda. It's always the practice of the council to take the consent agenda as the first order of business. Items on this agenda have been unanimously approved by a committee of the council, and they will be, or unless they're submitted in accordance with established city procedure. There'll be no discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered individually. Items not removed from the consent agenda will be enacted with one motion. We're televising this meeting live tonight on TV 13, as well as on the city's YouTube page, and it will be replayed tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and again Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. Copies of our agenda, as well as videos of previous meetings, are always available online on the city's website, and just click Watch Meetings Online option. Council members, are there any consent items you wish to pull? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval of balance or the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilmember McIntosh to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no, and we're going to do it that way too. So that's unanimous. Thank you all very much. But then we return to the general agenda, and everybody's leaving. I think I
Wave on the way out.
Take me with you.
It's going to get fun here in a little bit.
They were ready to go.
Thanks.
Spring loaded.
We will go to the general agenda, which is comprised of a public hearing on petitions to close and abandon a portion of J Avenue and a portion of Winston Street. There's a public hearing on ordinances ordering the demolition of structures in the East Ward and a resolution for the Winston-Salem Transit Authority. When the public hearing is called, persons in the council chamber will be given an opportunity to speak. If there's any opposition to this item, will allow both sides to have 15 minutes for presentations and 3 minutes for rebuttal. If no one wishes to speak, then I'll close the public hearing and the city council will consider the item. May we have item G1, please?
Item G1, public hearing and consideration on a petition to close and abandon a portion of J Avenue and notice to all persons interested in the closing thereof.
This is a public hearing. Is anyone in the council chamber who would like to be heard on this? I know the petitioner that has petitioned for this is here, if there's any questions. Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. This did come out of the South Ward, so I'd recognize Councilmember Larson.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. This has been kind of a unique, you may recall that a couple of meetings ago, we approved for a development project in this area and needed to have access to the site and looked at a variety of problems to resolve that. One of the solutions is what you're looking at here was basically to accommodate some property owners that were on J Street. And what they remarkably have done a wonderful job, I think, of accommodating Mr. Wheeler's need to get in and out and using J Street as a sort of a driveway. And so this sort of consummates the deal, and private property is then transferred over to Mr. Wheeler to allow him to continue to access his property and yet meet the needs of the development that's going to occur in this area. So I move for approval of this item G1.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Larson, seconded by Councilmember McIntosh. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. May we have item G2?
Item G2, public hearing and consideration on a petition to close and abandon a portion of Winston Street and notice to all persons interested in the closing thereof.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the council chamber who is opposed to this proposed street closing? Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. This is part of the Southeast Ward. I would recognize Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I move for approval of item G2.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Taylor, second by Councilmember McIntosh. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. We have item G3.
Item G3, public hearing and consideration of 1825 Mansfield Street, located at in the Southeast Ward. Ordinance ordering the demolition and removal of a structure.
Thank you. Mr. Hunter, would you give us just a brief synopsis of this
Yes, sir.
structure?
Good afternoon, everyone. Samuel Hunter, Assistant Neighborhood Services Director. Excuse me. Good afternoon, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. We are requesting that.
Excuse me, Mayor, if I may. You may remember this is an item that needs to be continued to the June 3rd meeting.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. So this is at 1825 Mansfield. We have contacted some of the owners in relation to this demolition. We've contacted next of kin as well. We have not received a response, but we need to do some more due diligence on this property to make sure that we can fall in line with the general statutes.
Good. Without objection, council, we would extend this to June 3rd.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead. Do you object to the
No.
holdover?
No.
Okay, we will
make the
refer
motion.
this to June 3rd. Okay. All right, now, go ahead, Councilor.
There is a program called the Do School, and when we do these demolitions, is it possible that we could find a way that this property or properties like that can be renovated, be provided to them instead of demolishing it, to have it rehabbed? I wonder if we could look into that.
We can certainly look into that, but keep in mind, the city does not actually own these properties, so it's going to be difficult for us to transfer title to something we don't own, but certainly we can have a discussion with them about it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll hold that one to June 3rd. We'll now deal with item G4.
Item G4, public hearing and consideration on the ordinances ordering the demolition and removal of the following structures: 261 Harrington Circle, 263 Harrington Circle, 265 and 267 Harrington Circle, 111 Lakeview Boulevard, 113 Lakeview Boulevard, 211 and 213 Lakeview Boulevard, all located in the East Ward.
Mr. Hunter?
Thank you. So all these properties are located in Lakeside in the East Ward, as City Clerk noted. I'll go with Harrington Circle first, and we'll group these together. And I'll speak while the City Clerk shows some photos of some structures. Please note, all of these photos are as recent as Friday afternoon at every single property. So for 4A through 4D, a complaint and notice of the hearing was issued in each of the Harrington Circle cases on February 27, 2023. Service was obtained on March 6, 2023 by regular mail in conjunction with the certified mail and posting for each of the Harrington Circle cases. A required hearings were conducted on March 29th. The property owner did not appear at any of the hearings. A finding and repair order was issued on June 6, 2023 for each of the Harrington Circle cases, giving the owner 30 days to repair each of the properties. The time for compliance expired as to each of the cases on July 12, 2023, as the repairs were not made. The dwellings have sat vacant for at least 6 months following the expiration of the orders, and the properties meet the criteria for 6 months vacancy provision and are eligible for demolition in the greater than 50% category. These are all the photos for 261 through 267 Harrington Circle. We'll continue with 111 Lakeview Boulevard, still in Lakeside. Okay. A complaint notice of the hearing was issued on July 21st, 2011. Service was obtained on July 31st, 2011 by regular mail in conjunction with certified mail and posting. The required hearing was conducted on August 19th, 2011, and the property owner did not appear at the hearing. Finding an order was issued on September 29th, 2011, and the time for the compliance expired on October 29th, 2011, as the repairs were not made. The dwelling sat vacant for at least 6 months following the expiration of the order, and the property meets the criteria for a 6-month vacancy provision and is eligible for demolition in less than 50% category. These are photos for 111 Lakeview. We'll continue with 113 Lakeview Boulevard. A complaint was issued on January 23rd, 2013. A service was obtained on February 2nd, 2013 by regular mail in conjunction with certified mail and the posting. The required hearing was conducted on February 22nd, 2013, and the property owner did not appear at the hearing. A finding and order was issued on March 12th, 2013, and time for compliance expired on April 12, 2013. The dwelling sat vacant for at least 6 months following the expiration of the order, and the property meets the criteria for 6 months vacancy provision and is eligible for demolition in the less than 50% category. So this one is for 211 Lakeview Boulevard. And please note, the property owner is trying to make some efforts to repairs, but they did not bring anything that was listed in the violations into compliance. A complaint notice was issued on August 1st, 2011. Service was obtained on August 11th, 2011 by regular mail in conjunction with certified mail and the posting. The required public hearing was conducted on August 31st, 2011, and the property owner did not attend the hearing. Finding an order was issued on September 29th, and the time for compliance expired on October 29th, 2011. The dwelling sat vacant for at least 6 months following the expiration of the order, and the property meets the criteria for 6 months vacancy provision and is eligible for demolition in the 50% category. And the last one is 213 Lakeview Boulevard. A complaint and notice was issued on August 2nd, 2011. Service was obtained on August 12th by regular mail in conjunction with certified mail and posting. The required hearing was conducted on September 1st, 2011. The property owner did not appear at the hearing. A finding and order was issued on September 29th, 2011, and time for compliance expired on October 29th, 2011. The dwelling sat vacant for at least 6 months following the expiration of the order, and the property meets the criteria for the 6-month vacancy provision and is eligible for demolition in the less than 50% category.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Any questions from Mr. Hunter on any of these structures? All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the council chamber who wishes to be heard on these proposed demolitions? All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and thank you, Ms. Hunter.
There's a person.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. You want to be heard on this item? If you would give your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Erica Hernandez, and I am the property manager for the apartments at Lakeside. I wanted to let y'all know about the progress that we're doing with the apartments.
We can't quite hear you, man. We pulled a mic.
Oh, right here?
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to let everyone know about the progress that we're doing in the apartments. We are working hard to get them up and running. We wanted an opportunity to not get them demolished. I forgot to bring some pictures. We did work on, it's 213 Lakeview have been completed now, and 213 Lakeview has been completed. 211 we just finished on Saturday, which I was going to call to get it re-inspected this during this week. So, and we're working on units 111 Lakeview, 205 Lakeview. It's that 4 building, but I can't remember the other 2 apartments. And we're also working with somebody of the GC to get the burnt units also like reconstructed. And we have someone coming this Friday.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Hunter, you want to comment?
Yeah, it's just one final note to bring to everyone's attention. Patio Court LLC executed a forbearance agreement in April 19th, 2021. While they've diligently made necessary improvements to some of the units, all of the units have not been brought into compliance to this time. So where some properties have been repaired, a significant number of them are still in violation of the city's code. So that's just one note.
You feel your recommendation is these 8 units here should be moved forward?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Thank you. Recognize Councilmember Scipio. This is the East Ward.
I need to ask the young lady who came to speak about the so-called apartments that were completed. I'd like to know,
Ma'am, would you come back to the microphone, please?
I think you said that 211 and 213 have been repaired completely with all of our code violations completed or not?
For the units, there was 2 code violations for 213 Lakeview that I did not complete when I called someone from the city, but we have completed them now. And also for like 211 Lakeview as well.
And they were completed when?
Today. Well, the work like renovated, like the flooring and all that stuff, we did it Saturday. For 211 Lakeview, the flooring was not done. Some other stuff was not done on Friday. But we did complete it Saturday and we did some more today. So I was gonna call someone from the city so they could come and re-inspect it.
Let me just clarify one thing, Mr. Hunter. Is 211, 213, 111, and 113 all the same building?
Those are all separate structures.
They're separate structures. Okay. Okay. I really want you to know, and you can convey this to the owners, this has got to be corrected.
Yes.
I have no empathy at this point for continuing to allow this to go on. It's deplorable. And people have been living in these conditions in some of these buildings, and it's continuing. This is not just, this is the first set of buildings. This is not one set. There are council members, there are about 2 other sets of buildings to come for you. We just decided it was too many to bring at one time. I do want to have your 211 and 213 inspected. I would like to have that to be inspected, but all violations have to be completed as of today. So I'd like to hold those continued 211 and 213.
Make a motion to approve the items 4A through 4F and whole 4G and 4H.
Yes, that's what I like to do.
All right.
And move those forward for demolition.
All right. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Second by Councilman Larson.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Everybody understands the motion? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Scipio. As most of you know, half of us up here basically grew up, born and raised in this city. We know what those units look like for decades on Walkertown Road. Personally, Councilmember Scipio, I will not be supporting this motion because I truly believe that I've been on this council since 2009, and I've been on the Community Development General Government Housing Committee for that time, and I have seen these units come through all the time, and I have never, even driving through there and going to review myself, I have never seen these units, this housing, up to any level of approval in my book. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that people have to live somewhere. But it is not fair in my mind and my belief that I am going to allow people to live in the conditions that development shows. So I will not be supporting it. I am about demoing.
All right, we do have Councilman Larson.
Yes, these apparently came onto our radar in 2011. Was the first period they were inspected, I believe. Is that what?
2011.
When they first surfaced. And here we are in 2024, and we're just now beginning to look at demolishing them. And I'm wondering why we've taken so long to finally enforce code or bring the demolition issue to bay. Now, and as we have a housing crisis in the city, we're talking about perhaps demolishing 2 units that would be perfectly good housing. So I'm a little troubled by the sequence of events here, that clearly these have gotten out of control, and I totally agree with what's been said earlier. They've been a blight on the landscape now for over, 14 years now or more. So I will vote in favor of it, but I hope we can send a signal out somehow to our inspections and out to the developers who own these properties that we can't continue to tolerate this kind of stuff in the landscape of Winston-Salem. It's a disservice to the whole city to see all these kinds of complexes go down like they're going down. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And let me remember to close the public hearing as well. And Councilmember McIntosh.
It's really painful to sit here and talk about tearing units down when we have, an incredibly pressing need. But as we continue to look for ways other than tearing down, we keep running into the same obstacles in Raleigh. We keep trying to come up with inventive ways, try to work with the county to come up with programs that do something other than this. But this is the only tool that we have in our toolbox. And I feel for the young lady who works for the company. It's not her money that's being invested in this. I feel like she's probably in a no-win position. But to allow landlords to let places deteriorate to the point that these have does nobody any good. I don't understand the philosophy of the owners who have an investment, probably a significant investment, and just watch it continue to deteriorate and ruin the lives of people around them. So I have, again, nothing against our speaker, but for the ownership group, we just can't let it go on. We have to tear them down.
Councilmember Burke.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with everything that has been said. I'm very concerned that the council member has given chance after chance, opportunity after opportunity to the owners to make these repairs. And here we are today talking about repairs that were made today, repairs that were made Saturday, but with no ocular proof. That tells me that we are not being taken seriously. We care about how our citizens are living. These living conditions at this location are deplorable. It's not your fault, but we cannot allow this to go on. And I think that if we demolish these properties, that will send a message, especially with more being in the same or similar condition. This will send a message, so if there are any repairs to be made, maybe they will be made. But so far, I think that we need to move forward and demolish these properties today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mundy.
I think I've heard, but I can't remember. This may be a legal question. There's a process after we vote and a certain amount of time before the buildings are demolished. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And is that considered a grace period? If the owner came in and made these corrections before the demolition, would we still demolish?
The city would not demolish if they've made all of the necessary repairs in compliance with the orders.
Okay, so we're still giving the owner a teeny bit of a grace period, even if we vote to demolish.
They still have some time.
That's just the point I wanted to make.
Okay. So the motion before council is to approve the demolitions of items 4A through 4F and to hold items 4G and 4H until the May 20th meeting of the city council. That's Councilmember Scipio, your motion.
Yes.
And it was seconded by Councilmember Larson. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no.
Would we come back and vote for the other two, or?
We'll come back on May 20th.
May.
You'll come back on May 20th.
All of them would come back, okay.
Just May, just those two.
Explain the affirmative
Yeah,
versus
if
this
you vote
motion.
yes on this, you're voting to demolish items 4A through 4F, and you're voting yes to hold items 4G and 4H, which would come back before this council on May the 20th.
Can we put that back up? 'Cause I think it was a tie.
How do we vote if we want all of them?
That's what I'm saying. It's confusing.
So you just vote against this motion.
Yeah, you vote against this motion. It would have to make the same motion. It was half and half.
What was the vote?
4-4.
4-4. Well, I'll vote in the affirmative to support Councilmember Scipio's motion then. We'll have 6 of them move forward demolition. 2 will come back on May 20th. See what the status is. All right. Thank you all. All right, item G5.
Item G5, resolution authorizing an agreement with RATB Dev USA for transit operations and maintenance services for the Winston-Salem Transit Authority.
Recognize our Director of Transportation, Mr. Jeff Fansler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, member of the City Council. Appreciate your time tonight. I do have a brief slide deck that I'll go through that is a condensed version of what we saw at committee, so I'll respect your time and go through that. But just a high-level reminder of what this action is about and request tonight is really the award of our next transit contract. So before you, consideration tonight is to consider a contract with RATP Dev to operate transit services for the Winston-Salem Transit Authority for a 5-year contract term up with the 2 option years. So I'll go through some of that summary real briefly tonight. Just a brief reminder of what we do at WISTA. We operate both fixed route and paratransit transaid services. You can kind of see the summary there of our fleet and the amount of ridership. This is the same that was presented at committees. Last year, we had about 1.5 million riders on our fixed route service and then about 163,000 on the demand responsive paratransit service. So specifically, let's talk about the contract. And currently, what we do in the current contract style that we have with the management style contract, the incumbent responsibility, it really provides the city of Winston-Salem a general manager, the general management of operations in their service model, and some training. That's kind of at a high level what we're paying for today with our contract with TransDev. Moving forward, that will change, as we'll get to in just a moment. But what I wanted to highlight here with this slide is the fact that a lot of those financial responsibilities then defer directly to the city through contract management, through staff time, through a lot of risk with the insurance, the claims, the payroll, et cetera. Kind of see some of that high-level summary right there. Just a note there that the city assumes a lot of risk and a lot of staff time in the fact that we operationally have to be involved with so many of those facets of transit operations. So what will change with this proposal tonight? So from a management to a full operations, what we're calling a turnkey operation style contract. That is a transition from what we currently call a management contract. What does it allow staff to do? You may have heard me talk a little bit more detail last time about the ability to refocus. And I'll mention that again because what this will allow staff to do is to refocus on transit planning, to revitalize and to repurpose our staff for efficiencies where we can gain in our system, to make sure that we're FTA compliant, to focus on ridership where those efficiencies can be gained by a more in-tune look at some of those, and to really dive into our service amenity standards that we have had brought before this body previously and allow staff to really focus on administering those standards. Where have we been? So this is all coming from an FTA audit. We found some deficiencies in our oversight processes and our procurement processes. And one of the things we talked about last time was the fact that we haven't gone out for competitive procurement in some time, which is why we're here tonight to make sure that we remain FTA compliant by doing so. Some of the time, as highlighted there on the right of your screen, shows the process that we have been through. And I'll make specific note to our Assistant Director, Kelly Garvin, who spent a lot of time really taking the reins and doing a tremendous amount of work getting us to where we are today. So I'll publicly recognize her efforts there. But we started with a workshop in September where we really laid out what needs we have. And this was a big city across the board effort with the many departments to understand what we really want to see transit be in Winston-Salem. And then, of course, we developed a reading room from that, which we went through all of the data that we have. This is everything from ridership to the contracts to the payroll, everything about transit, everything about our fleet, et cetera, to really present to potential bidders all things they would need to know to put together competitive bids. We didn't just stop there. We went through a bunch of peer agency reviews. You see some of the agencies that we went to and asked about their best practices, kind of some of their pitfalls we may could avoid, et cetera. And then we did issue the RFP per FTA's deadline in November of 2023. And one other thing I want to note there was in January, we did a pre-proposal open house, which has really allowed us to pull the curtain back and invite potential proposers into our space, give them a tour of the facilities, really understand what WISTA is all about, and give them a really critical look at what they could be pursuing here in Winston-Salem. From that, proposals were due March 1st, 2024. We did receive 2 that we'll just highlight briefly in just a moment. What were some of the key things we're looking to do, really? And really, we wanted to partner there to deliver a best-in-class service to our residents, our workers, et cetera. And then we really wanted to revitalize hiring and training. One of the things in the proposal that is different than we have today, right? We all are aware that we're still suspending a particular night service in our community. We wanted to be transparent in the fact that with the 181,500 revenue service hours, that ask was presented in the proposal document, basically making sure that our proposers could commit to bringing night service back. That number indicates full night service restoration in our community. And then we wanted someone that can provide industry best practice, that does this in our community, in the region, that does it well, and provide that to staff, allowing us to refocus on the things we mentioned about just a moment ago. Some of the key contract elements, I did mention it as a 5-year term contract. It does allow for up to 2 option years. That is FTA compliant. We spent a lot of time confirming that and making sure that our proposal allows us to stay compliant throughout a 7-year term potentially. And as I mentioned there, it does ensure that all FTA funds are governed appropriately throughout the term of the contract. So we did receive 2 proposals, one from We Drive You and next from RITP Dev. We had a scoring committee that consisted of a number of city staff and then, of course, industry experts in this space to help in this review process to make sure that we get it right. And after much review, you see this kind of scoring criteria that we went through, and this is the same that we talked about through committees. We did recognize RITP Dev as the highest scoring proposer. This is after a number of interviews, a number of critical review discussions, and comparing those against these criteria, we did recommend RITP Dev. From there, we did receive a price proposal and a best and final offer from the proposer, RITP Dev. So a little bit about the financials. The 5-year contract term is approximately $150 million. There are some incentives for performance. There are also some full-term allowances that you'll notice there. Now, the green highlighted number there assumes the 2 option years would be administered and approved moving forward through successful 5-year implementation in our community for a full contract value of about $218 million. So what does that mean? So really this contract, the bare bones of it is a per revenue hour fee. And so really drilling down a little bit further, what does that mean and what are the prices that we're seeing? So the proposed cost per revenue hour for the service of our size with the amount of stops and the fleet and the infrastructure and the routes that we put in the proposal document, we're getting about for the initial contract term, okay, and that's a key point because of the escalation factors through the contract life that is allowed by the contract. But the initial term, we're seeing about $106 per revenue hour for paratransit, TransAid, and then about $98, almost $99 there for the fixed route. Wanted to highlight our review. We did go out through a third party, one of our consultants, and do a price comparison in the community regionally about how that does compare to our peer agencies like Greensboro, Charlotte, Raleigh, and Durham. And notice those numbers there with fixed route and demand responsive of what we're seeing based on their size. There's a lot of assumptions in that regarding fleet size, number of headway times, their number of routes, et cetera. But just you can see the cost per revenue hour there based on the National Transit Database that we did as a cost comparison. So that's a high-level budget summary, but I did want to mention that this is proposed in the city manager's FY25 budget, and I do want to recognize our budget director, Mr. Scott Tesh, who has some additional information, and that was also included a memo in your packet, and I'll let him go over that now.
Mr. Tesh.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. There is an attachment to the item that has a memo that briefly discusses the fiscal planning implications of the contract that you would give the city manager the authority to enter into tonight. Generally, there are 2 quick paragraphs on that memo. The first one talks about this contract specifically, roughly $6.9 million increase in the transit operations budget, both for fixed route and paratransit combined, compared to the current year, which as you divide that out is roughly 2.5 cents on the tax rate in terms of what it costs to provide this service above and beyond what is in the current year's budget. And then also a note in the second paragraph, as we discussed in the prior year, There is essentially a need for additional funding in the transit fund overall, as we were looking at a deficit last year as part of the budget that we plugged with federal money, ARPA. We are using that money again in '24. We intend to use a little bit of fund balance in the fund in '25, and then in fiscal year '26, you will absolutely potentially have to add money to that or cut services or look for other revenue enhancements. But there are two things going on here. One is the increase in the contract itself, as well as the potential looming need just for additional resources. Any questions? I'm more than happy to answer those.
Questions, Mr. Tash?
One question.
Councilmember Mundy?
As a percentage over last year, I understand the increase in the time back to the tax, but what would the incremental increase be in percentage over last year?
In terms of total budget for
with transit? 9 million more is so forth. That
so with the 6.9 million more that we're talking about.
Yes, I'm sorry.
As part of this contract, I'll have to go back and look at the total cost on in terms of a percentage. I don't have it directly in front of me. It is a higher percentage for transit than it is for fixed route operations, but it's $6.9 million on roughly a $24 million budget.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Okay, thank you.
Those being very round numbers, but we can get you that in more detail if you need it.
25%.
Roughly.
Thank you, Scott. Jeff, I had a quick question. Doing the comparison that you did with our peer cities, that slide you had up there, that one right there, yeah. Am I reading that right, that our peer cities averaged $137 per fixed route, and this proposal would be $98?
So good question, Mr. Mayor. And this is an average. This averages Charlotte, Greensboro, and Durham, et cetera. So some are larger, some are smaller, and this does assume 2024 inflationary escalation. But yes, your assumption is that on an average for fixed route and paratransit service of similar kind of execution, that is the figures that we had a third party give us.
So I can interpolate that our deal that we worked out here is pretty competitive.
Agreed.
Councilmember Scipio?
Just a quick question on that increase of 6.9 million. How real is that versus all of the things we used to do with the transit that was sort of taken in ongoing budgets, like payroll and operating contracts and all of those things we used to do? Did we look at what we used to do and the cost of doing that to come up with that 6.9?
I'll do my best, and Scott will correct me where I misspeak. Councilmember Scipio, so the 6.9 is at a total, assumes all of the city's financial responsibility for the previous fiscal year. The 6.9 would be, since this is a more so a contract for all of that we used to break out in many different contracts, that total to administer transit services is in that $7 million additional than the total amount previous fiscal year to administer transit services.
Okay. Any other questions? This did come unanimously from Finance and Public Works. Mr. McIntosh?
Yeah, I spoke extensively at both committee meetings about this. With the gentle nudge from the FTA to get our act together and get moving on this, I think it had been put off for a while just because of the scope, the amount of work that was required to do it. So first, let me say thank you to staff. I mean, it was a Herculean effort, Kelly and Jeff, and just tons of people involved, lots of departments, and it was a really great effort. We went out and asked the market, what's it cost to run a really good transit system? We found out. So we either have the option of running a really good transit system or not. So I'm in favor of doing the right thing.
Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Mayor Pro Tem?
One of the things, just like we've stated over the past years, the world is changing. And if you're going to be, your city is going to get better, you're going to attract people that want to come here and live and work and play, raise their families. You can't be a half city anymore. People are looking to cities and government to provide the wraparound resources or services they need to have a good quality of life if they're going to be here. And one of those at the top of the list with housing and education is transportation. If you have a city with over 250,000 people, and we've seen it happen since I've been on the council with some of my peers, that Councilmember Clark in his earnest, and I'm glad he is that way, about our transit funds and our fund balances. This one has been one that we have never, as well as the landfill, we've never been able to get a grasp on. And I applaud the efforts of our staff, of Jeff, Kelly, and all of them that worked on this, because we've only done like one or two major changes with this system, even since I've been on the council. And we thought that it might help us, but it really didn't help the citizens. So moving in this direction, I applaud the Public Works and the Finance Committee for making this move to just do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Clark.
I have been a vocal critic of the bus system since I have sat on this council for 23 years. I haven't looked at the numbers the last 2 years, but we have gone down in ridership every year for 22 years, and I suspect that continued, but I don't have those numbers. Less than 2% of the people in the city ride the bus on a regular basis. This is roughly a $2,600 subsidy per rider is what we're doing. I'm going to support it with the understanding, Mr. Manager, that there's only so much water in the well, and we spend more money in one place, we're going to have less money to spend in another. And I am going to hold the new company responsible for doing a better job. I'm not sure we could do a worse job, so that's maybe a low hurdle for them. But keep in mind that we are subsidizing every rider to the tune of $2,600 a year, give or take a few bucks there. I vote for this with great trepidation, but we'll see. I hear good things about the folks that are going to do it. I think the system we had in the past was a terrible system where those in charge of running the bus system were not accountable for the costs of running the bus system or anything else for that matter. With that.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. We do have a motion on the floor to approve this resolution. All those in favor indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. And that is unanimous. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Fansler, and all your staff for the hard work you did to pull all this together. And Scott, thank you for keeping the numbers straight. All right, that's all the items we have on agenda. Any comments by council? That's good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move for adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem and second by Councilman McIntosh to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.